temptress doing hemp talks here at Tokeativity once a month. And starting this month, it's going to be presented by Polloi Advisors. Check that out at hoypolloiadvisors.com. One of the fellow co-founders is here today and our social media advisor. And normally, Hemp Talks is very focused on hemp and the plant. This month, we want to honor the theme and the psychedelics because for many of us, what brought us to hemp, what brought us to cannabis, what brought us to psilocybin and wanting to be in this industry and help people was our own story and our own experiences and desire to help others, whether it be physically, mentally, spiritually, just getting back in touch with earth medicine. Psychedelics has played a role. And Amy Donahue is an extremely successful person in this industry for many years, and that says a lot. It takes a lot to maintain a business in this industry, be successful. It takes a lot of passion and heart because the money is definitely not what it would be in a traditional world. And I just, I love working with Amy Donahue personally. She's just been an incredible asset to get Hoi Polloi co-founded and off the ground, and Get Hybrid Social is an amazing company. And hearing the story, with the human behind that company, I think is something Tokeativity offers us. And I'm really looking forward to really deep diving into that story today, Amy. So I want to turn it over to you and say thank you very much for holding space, being vulnerable with us, and sharing your story of psychedelics and your journey.
Thank you so much for that intro. If I weren't so high, I'd be crying right now. And I love working with you as well. Everybody check out hoypolloiadvisors.com. Beth, it's backwards on your screen again, by the way.
All right, I'll fix that.
Yeah, we had that issue a few years ago. I'm Amy. I just turned 50. I grew up outside of Buffalo, New York, and I graduated high school in 1989. But in 1988, on my 17th birthday, a pipe bomb went off in the locker right behind me, right across the hall. And
so this was in your high school?
This was high school. This was the 80s. This was a town with more cows than people. But it was a very small town. It is, rural, a little rural. It was about 15 miles outside of Buffalo, but it was full of cliques and it was full of fucking bullies. And a kid who had been bullied for years just finally snapped. He had a friend get the master key to the lockers, and he created a mercury switch pipe bomb. And for anybody who doesn't know, who would know this, but unfortunately I do, a mercury switch pipe bomb means that as soon as someone touches it, their body heat sets it off. So knowing that the kid who was the bully was a jock, and knowing that the kid had gym first period, he stuck it in his sneaker. And what had happened was when he opened his locker, his sneaker fell and he saw something and touched it and it blew up. And it was actually a good thing that the sneaker fell because it was facing out when the kid put it in the sneaker. But because it fell, it went in, and Dave, the bully who got bombed, I don't know how to put it, but he had shrapnel from the locker and everything. And on my whole right side and my school books, I had blood. But you didn't have time to act. I remember a teacher walking out, shoving him down to the nurse's office, and everyone yelling, "Get to class!" And we're like, it's my 17th birthday. I've got shit in my locker. It was Captain Morgan and Pepsi that I was going to be drinking all morning, so it was going to be in my locker. I didn't know how long I was going to be in first period. I was really pissed off about that. And we were just in shock. We had no idea what just happened. So we go to class. Mine was Spanish, and I ended up becoming a Spanish teacher. That's my degree, by the way. I'm a high school Spanish teacher who works in weed. And we were stuck there. And remember, this is 1988. There are no cell phones. There is no
Right.
internet. We had Apple IIe computers, those ones that had the dark gray screen and the amber print, and that was the technology. But everybody in that town had police scanners, so
and no 24-hour TV either. So that's the other thing, just to keep things in perspective. No 24-hour TV. It wasn't a time where this news probably didn't even get out to people till days later. Just to give perspective to somebody that might be listening, is very different time back then when something like this happens.
Yeah, for the younger people in back, Fox wasn't even a channel yet. The Simpsons started, I believe, in 1989, and that was the big first show from Fox. So we had ABC, CBS, and NBC, and PBS. That was it. I think we had cable was starting to come out, but again, it was a small town. And so we were stuck in class until like lunchtime, and then we all got sent home. And I was a junior. So I was driving to school. I had a younger sister who was a freshman, and I had a foreign exchange student at the time from Spain. So I'm like, this poor girl is in a foreign country. And our school had phones in them. Every classroom had phones. So you could call to the office, you could call to each room. You just dialed the room number. I mean, it was the 80s. Nobody...
Yep.
It was so free, and open. And so I called my little sister. I called Natalia, our foreign exchange student, and just made sure that they were okay, because I'm always like the mom. And
so wait, you're the one that has blood on your shoulder, but you're the one worried about them.
Yeah, that's just me. I mean, I'm the oldest in a very dysfunctional family.
Gotcha.
My father was alcoholic.
There you go. Yep.
My parents divorced when I was 8, so I had to learn how to cook at 8 years old because I had a little sister. So
gotcha.
I had to help my mom. So I've always been a caregiver. And I remember like going home from school and crashing out that night. Again, this was my 17th birthday. And I fell asleep that night. And around 11 o'clock, a little after 11, I hear my mom open my door, and she goes, "It was Jeff Burdowski." Growing up, we had a best friend family that we went camping with every weekend, and one of their sons was Jeff, who was the kid who made the pipe bomb. Oh. So it was like, what? Like, that's the kid you grow up with, and you don't know. I mean, because I was also bullied very badly. The older girls were very jealous of me because I was a cheerleader and everything. I was pretty popular, but that was a shock in itself. And then one of my classmates was the one who got the master key. And then nothing happened after that. There was no, everybody has to see the guidance counselor or whatever, because we talk about Gen X a lot. It was put some spit on it and go off to school the next day. Mm-hmm. And the next day at school, I remember walking down the hall, and someone had a stack of textbooks in their hand. They dropped them straight down, and it made a loud bang. And I went like this, and I flinched. And I mean, I still remember that. And then it was not long after that a friend of mine was like, "Hey, or try some LSD." I was already smoking pot and drinking at the time, and so she gave me a hit of LSD. I stayed home from school. I have the cassette of Black Flag Damaged, and I listened to that fucking album over and over again that day, and I had a blast. And to this day, Henry Rollins is my Lord and Savior. I buy everything of his. But I never realized a lot of the weird things about me until getting into cannabis 9 years ago and dealing with veterans. And then when they were talking about PTSD, I was like, holy shit, I have PTSD. Everything clicked in my brain and fell into place like those little puzzles that you do with your hands. There's one spot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You slide.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, my brain fell right into place. And so in high school, I tripped every day before school. I would drop a hit of acid. I've tripped probably 200 times. My last trip of LSD was in January of '89 on the 10-year anniversary of Sid Vicious dying. And I had a bad trip because I had the computer screen with the amber letters, and the screen was going like this. And I was in English class, and I tripped with my teacher before because his son was in my circle. So he looked at me, he's like, you need to go to the nurse's office. And as soon as I walked out the hallway, I puked all over the hallway, went to the nurse. My eyes had to have been blown. I'm this little tiny 18-year-old with a mohawk and 110 pounds soaking wet, eyes out to here. Nobody did shit. Nobody reprimanded me. Mm-hmm. Like, there were no consequences. I remember right after I got out of the nurse's office, I grabbed my boyfriend and we skipped school the rest of the day. I got suspended for that, not for tripping on LSD in high school. Like, what?
But that's, I mean, again, it's interesting because, we're in the same age group. So I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Now it would be very different. And then I start to think about like what you went through and how it would be handled differently. Like, there's like, interesting growth that came out of seeking mental health, even though we didn't know that's what we were seeking. Right. Yeah. It was called escapism. It was called gateway drugs. It was called this. But a lot of times it was, you went through a traumatic experience that soldiers go through, a bomb going off, people getting hurt, the blood's on you, the sound, the whole experience. And there's no adult stepping in to guide. So a human, naturally, you're seeking relief. And I think that's part of what drives that plant medicine is that we did seek, unique things and maybe in some cases accidentally stumbled upon mental health care.
And I took to it. Like, my body loved it. And I don't remember which session we were in earlier, but somebody had talked about recovery. Mm-hmm. I've been 17 years sober from alcohol, and I know in my heart I have never picked up a drink again because of my past psychedelic usage. When I quit smoking cigarettes, I quit smoking cigarettes. I've never relapsed on anything that I've quit except for sugar. But don't kill me, don't sue me, don't at me. Sugar is something that I do consider it an addiction and relapse on. Now I'm on a maintenance now of just a tiny brownie a day. But yeah, so later in life when I was 32, 31, that's when I quit drinking. So it's been 17 years, 2004. And then getting into cannabis, working with veterans. I have not touched psychedelics since that bad trip on Sid Vicious's 10-year death anniversary. And I talked to a couple veterans and they're like, you should try mushrooms and you can microdose, because I have been afraid to do like a trip because that was scary for me. It wasn't a bad trip that a lot of people talk about. I didn't start peeling my skin off, but it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
it's also different at this age. When I talk to my friends from college, look, when you were in college and you were going to miss a class, that's one thing. When you have a job, when you have bills, or people that have kids, or how'd somebody word it? When at any minute life can ring your phone and you have got to respond, makes it a little bit harder to go off on a 12-hour ego releasing, on another planet trip, because you have to let go of that ego. You have to let go of time. You have to, that's what I've always thought of, like microdosing. Okay. Mushrooms. Okay. But LSD, I don't think that's something I have no regrets, but I don't think I either would ever, it wouldn't be the right choice at this time.
Not for me now. No, I think now it's the plant medicine. Yes. I really would like to do an ayahuasca ceremony. there's a show on Vice called Kentucky Ayahuasca.
Yes.
And
yeah.
It's amazing. This guy, for anybody watching, was a serial bank robber, redneck from Kentucky. He's missing teeth. And he goes to prison multiple times for being a bank robber. And the last time he was in prison, and that's a key here because he found ayahuasca, his cellie was a Mexican ayahuasca shaman and got shit shipped in, and everything was labeled shampoo. So nobody knew what ayahuasca was in the prison. So he got it in his cell, and they took journeys together in prison. And as soon as he got out, the shaman mailed him all the supplies to get started, and he already knew how to do the recipe. So he and his wife have retreats in Kentucky. I would love to go there, but I would really love to go to Ecuador. One of the other women earlier today talked about Ecuador, and I speak Spanish, so I would love to go down there to do an ayahuasca retreat. Wherever Chelsea Handler went, that's where I want to go.
Desiree's talking about comments about she feels like she needs to try mushrooms to help her heal. Have some burning a hole in my closet, but I'm afraid to try without someone to help me. And my husband keeps putting it off because it could easily have drug tests.
Okay,
I'm definitely understanding wanting a guide. I really understand that.
If you do a microdose, you do not need a guide. It is something, the first time I microdosed about 3 years ago, I started microdosing mushrooms.
Right.
When it hit maybe like 20 minutes later, all I did was take a tiny piece of stem, I threw it in a glass of water and swallowed it like a pill. And then 20 minutes later, I'm sitting here and I just go, like this involuntary giggle. And that was it. I didn't feel anything. And to this day, when I microdose, I don't feel anything. You just feel better. Like you just feel better. And it lasts for a few days. Tomorrow, I start my next cycle of every 3 days for a couple weeks, because I've been super stressed out because 420 is coming and I have a dispensary client and I'm going nuts. So I'll be microdosing.
Talk about that. It's something that I know about because we've talked about, but especially for somebody like with Desiree, talk about how you do this cycle, how you really respect the plant medicine and your health with that.
So, and there are so many sources online. If you go onto Reddit, there are a lot of subreddits where I learned. I actually got my spores there too. But microdosing, I would do like Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, Monday, every 3 days for 3 weeks. And then I take 2 or 3 weeks off until I feel like stress levels coming up. You really gauge it by how you feel. I take mine I take it after breakfast. I find that I need to have food in my stomach. If you are a person who has done mushrooms and had a little nausea, if you just put a squirt of lemon or lime juice in the water with the piece, like I take it, that helps with the nausea. But I take it in the morning because when I first started doing it, because I had fear, and I was afraid to trip too hard, I took it at night. And I was like, well, if I have fucked up dreams, I already ate an edible too, so we'll see. Yeah. But I wasn't sleeping well on the nights, even on a microdose. So it wakes up enough of your brain that, and again, that's just me. Everybody is different, but I do prefer it during the day. And hey, when you do it in the morning and you literally do not feel anything, you get through your day happy. You know?
So Jennifer wants to know, do you smoke cannabis when you do this with it?
Sometimes I just want to microdose, but I am a cannabis patient, so I pretty much do medicate 24/7 with cannabis. I'm never without cannabis. I don't always wake and bake, but I'll be smoking by 10 a.m. Because I am a patient. So tomorrow I'm going to take maybe a little bit bigger dose just to see what it feels like, but I'm also going to eat microdose, edible, and smoke. Tomorrow's going to be a great day around here. A microdose, Desiree, so when you get the mushroom that's dried out, I literally take a tiny piece of stem this long. It's smaller than like a half of a dime, that length, not even half a centimeter. Start with that. You will feel relief from that. Start with a super small piece. And again, just take it like a pill every 3 days and see how it goes. Do that for a couple weeks, take the 2 weeks off. Maybe do a little bit higher the next time if you still feel like, because I've been on Paxil twice in my life. I will never go on that again. Getting off of Paxil was oh my God, it makes my eyes water. I was hallucinating. It was the worst feeling weaning. And I took a year to wean off of it because I had just read that it was something to get off of. So I don't have the PTSD that I had. I don't have that depression anymore. And if it does start to creep up, I got shit. My favorite aspect of doing cannabis, I think, because cannabis is really a huge part of my life. My parents were growers. It's just part of my culture, so I like including both because of the plant medicine, the Mother Earth, Mother Nature. I'm a fucking hippie. I don't shave my armpits. I just really like the way they complement each other together. Now, again, that is a microdose. When I do take a larger dose, when I actually do trip, I would like to try it solo first, and then the next time incorporate cannabis. I love weed. So I always am medicated, but weed and mushrooms is just really nice. And if you have a dose of an edible that's enough that you'll feel it, but not the kind that'll knock you out during the day. Like for me, 15 milligrams during the day is really nice for me, and it doesn't wreck me. 30 would be like, I'm checking out. So high school was LSD when you were, did your psychedelics continue through when you were teaching? And then has it always been a part of your life, or have there been periods where it wasn't there at all and then it's returned, or what's it been I never did it again after that bad trip. Gotcha. On the Sid Vicious death anniversary. Oh, that's right, Sid Vicious, yeah. I never tripped again. And when I started microdosing mushrooms, I was a little afraid. But so I hope that makes you feel better, Desiree, or anybody else. I was a little afraid to microdose mushrooms because I had a bad LSD trip that I never tripped again. I never did. I remember at a party once, I was like, well, I'll take a quarter hit. And as soon as it hit my tongue, I spit it out. I was like, I just can't do this right now. I have no idea. Desiree wants to know if mushrooms can get stale. She's had them about a year. No. And what you could do, as long as they're dried out, they're fine. If there's any moisture, which I've never seen happen, and I've bought from a few, I am learning to grow. What I want to do, and I've told Beth about this, is I want to create a coalition of a chain of us women teaching each other how to grow mushrooms so that we can start the psilocybin industry on the West Coast here. Hi, Heather. It's hard, Heather. It is so hard. Being in cannabis, everybody has mushrooms, I've learned. Just because it's being recording, we had a question about sourcing mushrooms for microdosing in the chat. Oh, I forgot about that part. You're such a great hostess. You're the best hostess, and I'm just running right over everything. No, it's good. It's good. You're good. Heather, you can source on Reddit. You can source. I got my spores there. Golden Teachers. It's something that if you find people in cannabis, especially veterans, and it'll come up. It'll come up in conversation. Growing is asking about the best way to store mushrooms as well. I just keep mine in glass. I keep everything in glass. As soon as I get back from a dispensary, if anything's in plastic, it comes right out of plastic and goes into glass. All of my stuff, even my mushrooms, are in mason jars. It gives it some air in there as well to keep it dry, no moisture. I've never had a problem with moisture, and I've had some of the mushrooms I have, because people just keep giving me some, not a lot. It's not like I have a bag like Bianca did. But yeah, they do keep. They do keep. And you can grind them up and put them into capsules if you have a very light scale, a very sensitive scale, and can do like 10 milligram capsules of mushroom powder. There's your microdose if you want to take it in a capsule, if that's better.
So we used to just put them on pizza in college and have mushroom pizza.
Yeah, I like putting it in tea. Tiffany was talking about the tea, and I will tell you this, microdosing a couple pieces of mushroom and you put some keef in it on the tea, it is the most magical feeling. Maybe that's what I'll do tomorrow. We're brainstorming what I'm doing tomorrow.
Well, and tea is a big deal. I'm learning more and more when you go back, to the 1,000-year-old use of cannabis. It's in tea. I mean, the original gurus and shamans and mystics swear by tea, even for cannabis, that's what you're supposed to be doing, is a consistent consumption of tea.
When I'm able to grow, I plan on using my leaves for tea. Mm-hmm. What's a good tea recipe?
Desiree asked if you have a good tea recipe.
No, because I just buy tea bags and I just put pieces of mushroom in the water with a tea bag. I'm very not fancy.
And then it makes me wonder, because I know there's CBD hemp tea out there. See, look, hemp talk. I knew we could get hemp in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I have hemp tea from Green Heifer Farms, Black female owned, Green Heifer Farms.
I love their logo. I love their brand.
Farmer C. Yeah, Farmer C is amazing. Support Farmer C at Green Heifer Farms. There are so few people of color farming, let alone female farmers. But yeah, so I'm just curious now. I'm like, oh, I bet like with microdosing, some CBD tea, like just what a wonderful for the body and the mind.
I wonder though, because if you're going in for surgeries or anything like that, you have to stop taking CBD because it does interfere with medicine.
True.
My kidney recipient cannot take CBD because she's on immunosuppressant drugs, so it will interfere. So I wonder if the CBD, because sometimes they tell you if you're too high on THC to take some CBD. I wonder if it would take away from maybe not, because it's not the same receptor or anything.
Yeah. Well, research. This is why we need official research
on this yet. Nobody even thought to look this up yet.
So much to learn. Just so much to learn. I mean, we won't be alive long enough to see the full benefits of just taking this plant medicine. I guess maybe it is full circle though. I mean, I'm all stoned and thinking historically now. It's almost like we're just going full circle. Here we are. Yeah, we're on a virtual world, but what are we talking about? Well, really, we should be doing a tea, which is what the shaman taught,
Yep.
in the tribe. I don't know. It's a full circle kind of deal, I guess.
I like to make a ritual out of it too. I do brew my tea in a bigger cup, but then I have one of my grandmother's teacups, so I like to just dump it in there and drink it out of there, just as like a little ceremony. Have some crystals, some incense going. I like to set the tone. Now, if it were a day where I'm going to be like out skating or something, then I would maybe have a sativa as well, and then change my routine to something more lively before I go outside or whatever. But I like making a ritual out of it, setting a tone, just setting the day right. That's another reason, Jennifer, why I like doing it in the morning. You're setting the tone for the day rather than the night.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more. Well, and I like seeing the resorts that are coming up so people have a safe place to really, really experiment. Because I think that's, like you said, that's something we got to do back in the day. And we're more comfortable doing it now. But I think for I don't know. It's kind of neat. The next generation's coming up. The folks that are graduating college and in college can have a knowledgeable experience.
Yeah, and I'm very open with my niece. She'll turn 18 this coming week. I'm very open with her about it. Like, I feel that we need to not have stigma around it and to talk about it. We have to talk about it. And as women, help each other out in it. And like I said, help each other grow and make edibles out of it. Like there's a whole industry that we're creating right now. And it's incredible to be a part of it. And just to see, like, just to watch it evolve over the next few years. And like you said, we're not going to be alive to see everything, but this pandemic actually is going to cause this tourism of psychedelics to explode this summer. I predict this summer is, because we're ready. Like, we're all ready to go. You know, people are getting their vaccines and buying campers and shit. We're ready for, you know, we're hoping to have some normalcy by July 7th. How fucking amazing is that? And that we can actually, like Jennifer and I were talking earlier today about, let's do a reservation for this or something. Like, it's nice to finally make a plan, but we're all making plans for using plant medicine to feel together, to feel better, but to come together after a quarantine. Like, I'm so excited for this summer. I really am.
Well, and the whole thing, like you said, to come together and everything changing, because there's something to be said about even like doing business together. I mean, whether it's you and I or anybody, when you're doing business with people that'll sit down and toke with you or talk about a psychedelic experience or CBD and why they're using it and open up about their overcoming of addiction, that doesn't go on in a traditional business format. And in a traditional business format, you have the liars, the thieves, and the greedy ones, where I think that's another thing that maybe I'll be a little sexist, but female leading industry of psilocybin and making sure we keep our foothold in cannabis and hemp brings that healing even to us feeding our families and paying the bills. Is its kindness, it's understanding we all have a journey, that we all do have positive intent in what we're doing, and we want to work together, and that it's not about being quicker, faster. It's about this type of stuff. It's hey, man, life's been a journey, and I want to create change. Let's do it together, and still make sure I got a roof over my head.
Yeah. Well, before I don't know if it's Lisa there behind the Tokeativity, I was about to say, and thanks to an organization like Tokeativity to give us this kind of a platform. And I love this hop-in tool. I think it's really great to be able to have different sessions and everything. But yeah, these events, like, I'm honored, first of all, that this is even happening today. I'm honored to be able to speak about my story, but I'm honored to be in presence of such amazing women too, that, everyone's got experience that the next person doesn't, and to share it so openly and freely it's just amazing.
Yeah. And that's why we want to collaborate, work together on everything, because I'm just going to be shameless because we're coming up on our last couple minutes and it's part of my job here, but shameless. Everybody here is either connected to a business or doing something that needs social media. Why not have a genuine person that gets that you're on a journey doing your social media? And that's you. Or, helping with your business, that's hoi polloi. But in all seriousness, that's how we change the world. We know we've got to do our reality-based things, but our journeys are, crossing over into that business world. So let's work together. And I just shamelessly am plugging you for social media, because I do not know anyone that has taught me more in 1 hour regarding social media. And then also part of why Amy so just naturally became a co-founder in Hoi Polloi was the integrity and genuineness of supporting the mission. And that's what women do, is they say, yeah, hey, I'll help you out. And the next thing you know, it's like, wow, I'm on the same mission as you. So let's do this together. Let's make sure more people are supporting Get Hybrid Social. Let's make sure we're working together, under Hoi Polloi, and then that's going to grow within Tokeativity and other people here, too many to mention. But it starts with being human. It really, really does. And that's really what I love.
And that's why I think that Hoi Polloi is the perfect thing for right now for all of these industries, to have experts that want to help. Because what Hoi Polloi is, for anybody who doesn't know, hoipolloiadvisors.com, it's 4 of us so far, but we have a team of people helping with startups and helping people get unstuck. So if you've been in business for a while and you don't know what a CRM is, there's a lot of things that go with business that you don't know unless you know it. We don't know what we don't know. So if you're a startup or you're stuck and you're like, I feel like something's missing, contact us, because we want to help people. We want to keep the women in power and empower the women who are in the industry, and keep the money bags out, keep the bros out, but just work really hard to build the middle class. We want to help build the middle class of these emerging industries.
Yeah, and Hoi Polloi itself, we all discussed, in a brainstorming session, we reclaim that word, and everyone, if you're here right now, you're Hoi Polloi. And Hoi Polloi can originally mean like the riffraff, the proletariat, basically what the traditional world looked at each and every one of us at one time for being in this industry. But really what it is, and we're claiming it, is it's the people. It is the people. It is every person that just wants to put their hand in the soil or support change and create a dream into a business, or get unstuck and keep supporting your purpose. But also, hey, I need to be legal. I need to make a profit. I need to survive social media. How the heck do I do that in this industry? I need banking. I need to go from, hey guys, or gals, I've been illicit and I need to go legal. You don't need to whisper that to us. We got you. We got you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Everything from basics. Like, some people don't know they need an LLC. And that's cool if you don't know that, because everyone's new in business. So it's good to have your shit together from the beginning.
So we've got only about 2 minutes here, Amy. Anything that you want to plug or throw out there in the last 2 minutes to make sure we get covered for you? Because this has been great. This was just a great talk.
I'm going to put my website in the chat, and sign up for my emails, because I send out emails with social media tips. And this last week's was why Twitter is important for the cannabis industry. So if you go to my website and sign up for emails, you'll get free tips on social media.
And that's at gethybridsocial.com. And then you can follow us at wearehoipolloi_ at Twitter.
And that's me behind the screen for the Twitter.
That's right.
Follow us on Twitter.
And you can learn more of that by talking to Amy directly.
Yeah, Twitter rules. Twitter's the best.
Yep.
Trust me.
All right, well, let's smoke our way out. And I really want to thank you. This has been a great talk, and everyone in the chat, thank you for participating. This was recorded, so to be shared. If maybe there's a reason you want to share it with a friend, help reduce the stigma around psychedelics and our industry in general, or just introduce people to the topic. The recording will be up in Tokeativity.
I've never been recorded consuming that I know of. I've been such a stickler about consumption on social media just because I do it for a living. Like I'm like,
Yep.
I'm gonna be that one. It'll happen to me that I get busted for something.
All right, I think we are supposed to head to the main stage. So thank you, everybody from
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you, Amy. Catch you next time.
See you at the stage.